What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another book haul video. This isn't a bookshelf tour, more on that later. I was thinking that this for January was going to be a shorter video, or at least a smaller haul than last month's was, but that just was not the case. I surprised myself with a lot of purchases that I wasn't intending to make about halfway through the month, and basically all of the stuff that I ordered this month actually came this month, which was a big surprise. But before we get right into the video, let me just say, if there's a couple random screams or cries or something like that that you hear from outside my door back there, well, the reason is that my 2-year-old niece is out and about and it's not her nap time when I'm recording this, so something might get through the cracks. My audio editing should make it so that you can't hear basically anything that's going on out there, but if you hear a random scream, that's why. I can't really predict when that's going to happen, so apologies if that happens at any point throughout this video. Without further ado, let's just get right into what I got in January. So starting off with item number 1 is the Night Shift short story collection by Stephen King. If I can, these glossy covers really like to reflect my ring light. This is a pretty nice cover of the book that I decided to get. I really liked the Anchor Books. If you can read that there, I don't know how well you can see that. I really liked the Anchor Books publications of Carrie and Salem's Lot and The Shining, so I decided that I wanted to get as many of the Anchor Books editions of these Stephen King books as I can, so I know that they have one for The Stand, and they might have one for a couple other random Stephen King books, I'm not sure, but as many of Stephen King's works that Anchor Books has done publications of, I'm going to get that edition, because I really like them. They're simplistic covers. The fonts are pretty nice. They're just simple and sweet, is really all that I can say. The reason I picked this one up specifically is because I'm reading all of Stephen King's works in order from publication. So I started with Carrie, I went on to Salem's Lot, and then The Shining. I already had read Rage and The Long Walk at one point in time in early-ish 2020. But I'm going to be rereading those in this journey, which means that next I'm going to be reading Rage soon-ish, depending on when I can fit that into my reading schedule, but immediately after that, Night Shift is what I'm going to be reading. Like I said, right after I finish rereading Rage. I got to admit, this copy of the book is admittedly a lot thinner, a lot smaller than I was actually expecting it to be. The word count of this combined is twice that of Carrie's, so the fact that its thickness is not much more than Carrie's surprised me, but it makes sense. There's just a lot more words on the page. The font's just a little bit smaller, so nothing I'm too worried about. In fact, I actually just like having this thin book, because as you'll see throughout the rest of this book haul, this is far and away the smallest book that I got in January. Item number 2 that I got was the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn books by Tad Williams. Now, you'll notice that I only have 2 of 3 of these. Reason for that is because my copy of The Dragonbone Chair, the first book in the series, didn't ship in time. In fact, it's not even projected to get here until the middle of March, which is really weird. I hope it'll at least come in February so that I can show it off at the next book haul, but I'm just going to say this one thing. Amazon sometimes does a little bit weird things with the pictures that they have in certain editions of books or whatever that they have for sale, so that sometimes you're actually a little bit surprised by what you get. At first, I was thinking that that was going to be the case with these books. I thought that they were going to be like the original publications with the more painted artwork, like Dragonbone Chair's artwork originally was like the green cover with a couple people on it. I was hoping for these editions, though, so I'm really glad that these came instead of what Amazon was showing would come. I'm not too picky either way. I just hope that the Dragonbone Chair's edition matches these two just for consistency's sake. But I gotta say, this is a thick, thick book. This is probably the thickest book that I own at this point, despite it being the third. It's the third longest, so I have 2 books that are longer than this, if you don't count the Bible or anything like that, but this is the thickest book. Even though one of the other books that I have, the longest book that I own, is a hardcover, but this is still thicker than it. It's just absolutely monstrous. And I knew that it was a long book, but man, this really surprised me when I got it. It is just a beast. I just gotta say, I don't really know much of anything about the series. I just know that the Song of Ice and Fire, A Song of Ice and Fire by not J.R.R. Martin, it's George R.R. Martin, was inspired by the series, but that's practically all that I know. The third thing that I got in January was the Faithful and the Fallen series by, what's his name? John Gwynne. For a second, I couldn't remember his name for some reason. So this one, like I said, Amazon can sometimes do weird things. This one is actually more my fault than anything, because these first two books are the Orbit publications, the large trade paperback versions of the books that are really nice. I wanted to pick up the series because they look cool. All of John Gwynne's covers look really cool, so props to any of his artists for that. But the third and fourth book were the Pan publications of the not mass market size. They're way too big to be mass market, but they're mass market compared to these trade paperback versions. Like, they're much smaller. I'm not too miffed about it because I actually kind of like these better, to be completely honest with you. So I kind of wish that they had all been the smaller size. Regardless, I'm a little bit more miffed that they're not all the same size, but I will just say that it could be worse. For example, this is books 1 through 4 in order. If it had been like books 1 and 3 being the bigger size and books 2 and 4 being the smaller size, that would have been far, far more annoying. So I'm, really grateful for the fact that there are at least some consistency despite the editions being a little bit different from one another. I am excited to read Faithful and the Fallen at some point in time. It's nowhere on the reading plans at the moment, but just based on these covers, I'm really excited to get around to them at some point. Like, I really want to read all of John Gwynne's work. The fourth thing that I got in January was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I've mentioned a couple different times on this channel up to this point that I am part of the Discord server for Mike's Book Reviews, the YouTube channel. And in that channel, we have decided to do a monthly classic read-along type of thing. So each month, everybody in the Discord who is interested in reading certain classics can vote on what classic we're going to read for the next month. Frankenstein is the one that we decided on for February, and I decided to pick that one up. As you can see, based on when I'm recording this, I've already started reading it. You can probably see the bookmark. It's a little bit low quality, but it's in there. This edition that I got is actually a combination of both the original 1818 publication and the 1831 revised version that Mary Shelley put out. For this first read, I'm actually reading the 1818 version. If I ever decide to reread it in the future, I'm going to read the 1831 version to kind of see some of the differences and whatnot. But I gotta say, as far as I'm in it, I've been enjoying it so far. And then the next thing I got, item number 5, is The Count of Monte Cristo, a classic by Alexander Dumas. This is, again, another classic that I'm going to be reading in that Discord server. This is planned for June, I believe. It's not one that we were voting on. It's somebody, or it's a book that someone else in the server had already planned to read along for in June. So I predict that it'll just be the classic that we read in June altogether or something along those lines. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I decided to pick it up because it's one that I have not heard anybody say they dislike. I know that it is the quintessential revenge tale, but that's about all I know, besides the fact that everybody I know who has read it has really enjoyed it. So I'm glad that I picked it up. It's actually a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I didn't realize that this book was, oh good grief, it's like 1,250 pages. Like, I was thinking this was more like a 600 or 700 page book. Far bigger than I thought. I'm not going to complain, because for some reason thick books are attractive to me in a really weird way. But either way, I'm excited to have this book. Item number 6 on this list is similar to that last one, which was a Penguin Classics version. This is a Penguin Classics deluxe edition of War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. This is one of the great novels of all time, according to basically everybody in that Discord, Mike's Book Reviews Discord, again for the third time mentioned in this video. This isn't a book that we have a read-along planned for. This was one that actually had a read-along in December that went through January as well. It was one that I was interested in joining, but didn't end up having enough time to get to, and was like, well, I'm not going to be able to read this, so I decided not to. But everybody who read the book, I don't know if I've seen anybody who read the book and the read-along inherently dislike this book. Like, all of them enjoyed it to such an extent that I could not help myself and decided that I was going to get it and read it as soon as I had time to be able to, even though it is huge. This is the second biggest book that I own. Like I said, to Green Angel Tower, that third book, or the third and technically the fourth book in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series by Tad Williams. That's the third longest book I own, with somewhere around 550,000 words. I can't remember the word count for this, but this book, War and Peace, Les Miserables, and To Green Angel Tower are probably the three longest books I own. I don't know how long it's going to take me to read this, considering that I have other reading plans going along, and I read really slow, but I want to get to this as soon as I can, even though it's huge. I just know that I'm going to enjoy it for some reason. I'm just going to add a little end note to this, though, is that I'm not a big fan of these, like, kind of serrated's not the right word, but these kind of frilled edges on the book compared to the flat edges of most other books. But for some reason, I don't mind them with this book, even though I would say that I would prefer the flat edges, but that's all I'm going to say. Moving on. Now, this is the final book that I got in January, and it's not exactly a book, it's a collection, similar to the very first item on this list. This is H.P. Lovecraft, The Complete Fiction. I'm not somebody who has read anything by H.P. Lovecraft up to this point, but I've always wanted to read plenty of his stuff. I think I listened to an audio of to somebody, a YouTube channel that I follow, read audio of a few of his short stories at one point in time. I don't remember which ones, but I enjoyed them from what I remember. I do want to get more into reading Lovecraft. This edition is just beautiful. I didn't realize that it was a Barnes & Noble exclusive, so I had been looking for it for a few months and could not find it, but then when I was told that it was a Barnes & Noble exclusive, I ordered it right then and there, and I'm actually very happy with it. It's got some of these silver edges that reflect that ring light rather well, but it's just beautiful. Like, I can't wait to kind of fit in a random short story by H.P. Lovecraft into some of my reading plans here and there when I want something really short to just fit in between longer tales. Plus, the other nice thing about this is that now I don't have to worry about trying to find all the different collections and worry about which stories I have by them. It's just everything in one volume, makes my life super easy. So yeah, that's everything that I got in January. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is not going to have Bookshelf Tour number 2. I'm deciding I'm probably going to discontinue that because the way that I was originally planning it just didn't make sense for, multiple different reasons. So I think at some point in time, I might just do like once a year or something like that, just do a video that does a bookshelf tour of everything that I have, or maybe just do it at the end of this year, and then whenever I get a substantial amount in a following year to warrant it. I'm not sure, I'll have to think about that, but I do want to show you guys all my bookshelves at some point in time, at least when they're full. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you kind of liked all the stuff that I got. Make sure to check out seasonalproductions.com for all of my YouTube content here and all of my writing content. It's all in one place. Go there and bookmark it. Like the video, subscribe, comment, do all the fancy YouTube stuff. Ring the bell if you so choose to. And with all that being said, come back again on Monday for more Lord of the Rings coverage and reviews and stuff like that. I hope you've been enjoying all this content. I'm going to go ahead and shut up now. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back again in the next one.